Hello everyone and no one at all, if there's anyone watching. Welcome to the video if you made it. Judging by the title, you kind of guess what it's gonna be. So let's just hop straight in. This video is gonna be like fully unscripted. I just have bullet points because I'm just gonna get distracted and not even know why I started recording. So yeah. So to start off, I had a pretty normal childhood and schooling up until around like grade 10, age 15, and I started to have a lot of struggles. I got bullied by not just students but the teachers as well. They would take pictures of me leaving my house 2-3 minutes late, and the whole class would make fun of me. It wasn't a good environment. I ended up dropping out of high school towards the end of grade 10. It just became so much for me, and I needed to focus on mental health. I wasn't really not in the best space, and so I had to out that. So that was alright. I then didn't really that was towards like the end of the semester. I studied most of the year and then I dropped out. Didn't really go to school for the rest of the year from like August until the next year. I was just focusing on mental health, and then when I started doing a bit better, I went to homeschool. Started doing homeschool then for the first time, and that was good. I ended up switching curriculums, so I actually jumped from homeschool, and then that was like a really tiny homeschool. The teacher left, had to find a new homeschool. Luckily I already passed grade 10 at that school, so I redid grade 10 in a different curriculum, then did grade 11 in the CAPS, which is the South African curriculum, which I then I was not being treated right by that school as well. My mom had an altercation with the teacher because of how they were treating me, and she was like, all right, we're going now. And me, like, not leaving school, I was like, okay, cool, this is nice. But it really, looking back, it wasn't good, but it also really wasn't a good environment for me. The messed up part is I felt really demotivated because I had to do, if I'm looking there, I've got another camera. Hello. Oh yeah, you already know, I'll do that from the intro. I had to do grade 11 twice. I already completed grade 11 in South African curriculum, and now I had to do it again in the CAPS curriculum when I joined my third homeschool. So I mean, I had I just went from doing really well up into just jumping from schools that was just completely out of my control. Unfortunately, just people are mean, so that's it. And I'm just reading here. Yeah, so at that homeschool I finished, and I got my matric there. It was really difficult because I was obviously it was weird because I had gone out of school as well, feeling like an adult, to going back into school. I had just turned 18, so I was really felt like, I felt like an adult, and I was like, damn, I'm going to school with damn kids and I'm stuck in this place again. But anyway, there was this really cool friend group that I clicked with from like day one, with the friends, and I was just in the group. So that was really nice. It kind of helped me break out of my shell a bit because I was hella quiet. Like, I didn't talk. I just kind of wanted to get into school and get out and do my thing. And so I knew I was a little bit older and I needed to show getting a job was going to be a little bit more difficult, but I decided to get a job while I was working in school. And that really worked out because the principal was so good to me. They let me leave. So I used to go to school from 8 o'clock in the morning to Friday at 1 o'clock. And they used to let me slip out 15 minutes early because I started my work shift at 1 o'clock. So I used to go to work from 1 o'clock on a Friday, and I used to work straight through to Sunday, 8 o'clock, and Monday, 8 a.m. school again. And I did that in my year of matric to gain my first work experience. And it was challenging, but it was what was needed. And that's how I ended up getting my other job, which I started then working part-time once matriculated at a very popular coffee shop sure you know of it, custom drinks, etc. And it was really good while I was working part-time. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do music, if you couldn't tell from the instruments are everywhere. But I didn't really know what field. I just didn't have enough confidence in myself and to make my own stuff. So I didn't really know. But if I decided I really want to do something in music, and so that's what I did. And my studies were going alright while I was in music. I am currently enrolled in the Bachelor's of Arts for sound engineering and music production. And I have just finished first year, really, and we'll get back into that later. But basically, I lost track now. I was working part-time. That's why I need to have the notes. I was working part-time, and I decided, you know what, I get a full-time job because I needed to prove to myself that I was responsible enough to do that. And I did that because I also wanted to earn more money. I wanted to take on more responsibility for myself and, just really expand who I am. And that was that shop ended up giving us a lot of extra hours. And while I was full-time, it crashed out my studies. I was struggling to maintain my studies now. And I ended up having 10 back-to-back shifts, and I literally ended up with 10 days straight of working because I don't know why they did that to me, right? The day before my exam, and I actually ended up failing that exam by 2%, 2%, and it was so difficult because I now have to repay for a paper to redo the module, which costs a couple K, and I'm only earning a couple K. So I'm like sacrificing what I really want to be doing for a temporary gain. Like, I shouldn't be sacrificing my passion. I feel like a lot of people deal with that, trying to decide between what you want to do but what you have available, and that just makes it just so challenging. You shouldn't have to decide between these things. But anyway, I started looking for another job because I could not deal with that environment. It was too much for me. So eventually I searched for months. I searched for like 6 months to try and find another job while I was working there, getting bad grades, but like pushing and struggling, but trying my best. And I then ended up I then ended up like, hello camera again, what's up? I then ended up getting poached by another coffee company, and they really liked the way I worked, and they hired me there. They gave me better pay, they gave me better hours, but I spoke to them before that I needed a specific amount of hours to accommodate for my studies. They didn't do that. They changed the contract. They didn't change the contract. They like reworded it in a different way to not what we agreed upon. And they started making stuff up. Like, if I didn't come to work 15 minutes early, I was late. You're not on time. No. And they started reprimanding me for stuff like that. And they started this was the owners of the shop, and they started getting in a manager who was really new there. And nothing against them. I understand that they wanted to keep their job and, appease to their boss. But they ended up agreeing with all this stuff just because it was said, and it was their first manager of shop, and they wanted to have that. And I understand where they're coming from, but something should have been said, because they ended up trying to coerce me into signing all these different documents. They would note, he didn't sign this, or you didn't sign that, and not willing to, and it's just they were forcing me into stuff that legally isn't right. And not only that, is it really started to hurt my reputation, because their managers started now believing all these false perceptions of me. And I'm like, I don't know who these managers are going to be in 5-10 years. Like, what if they still believe these things? I'm like, they're not just ruining like my personal life now. No, yeah, they're ruining my like business side of life, my work side, because they're ruining my reputation, and that I couldn't deal with. That was too much for me. So I ended up leaving that cold turkey. I just couldn't deal with that. And this was around last year, January, and I couldn't find another job. I couldn't find another job for 6 months. The other thing I forgot to mention, I failed my exam by 2% because in my country we deal with something called load shedding. So we don't currently have it, but it's basically when they shut down the power to your area for a certain amount of hours every day. And because I studied online, they would shut down the power for 4 hours. I would come home from work at like 7:30, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock sometimes, and the power would be off from 8 to 12, but I have another shift tomorrow morning at 6:30 in the morning, so I got to be up at 6, and I used to have to decide between cooking food and eating or studying, right? And I ended up needing to eat because I got work tomorrow. So again, I'm sacrificing something that I really want to be doing for a temporary gain, which I then failed and then had to work to pay off the paper again, which I will be struggling to get again, so I'd have to work. It's a cycle. And that load shedding, it really hurt me because I couldn't study. I just couldn't. And that's kind of the main reason I failed that. And the back-to-back shifts, like, it's just not helping. It just adds on. And that's when I then went to that other job, and that just even went worse. As I mentioned, they started making stuff up and coercing me into stuff, which I then left, and I didn't find a job for like a good 6 months. The other thing that I'm really proud of, though, is that I have really good work ethic. As I mentioned, I was poached by the other company. They found me. They wanted me to work for them, and I then got a really good boss at my other job that I worked at in another coffee shop by pure word of mouth. And I think, like, my last few jobs that I've had and my current ones are just word of mouth alone. My employers didn't even look at my CV. They didn't even look that I've got 3-4 years of work experience. They didn't care. They care about how I held myself and how I portrayed my work ethic, and that's what stood out. So, if you also don't have work experience, just find something for yourself. Just get out there in any way, and how you hold yourself will say more than what's on a piece of paper, So that's, I think, is something to take in, and because I know it's everyone's, you want a job in this field, but you need experience in it. Well, how the flip did I do it? My other friend wanted to do social media, shout out to her, and she couldn't find a job in it, so she made her own, and there we go. You make your own experience, and people love that initiative, and that's what they want to see. So I worked for that company, and that company was so nice. My boss let me go on my computer while the shop was quiet, which allowed me to study and write my papers at work, which was so amazing. I went from failing from 48% to getting 80s. Right now, I'm getting like the highest mark. My averages are like 85% for my modules, and my highest mark being 92%. So going from 48 to 92% just by having the right accommodation. Both full-time jobs, completely different. And it's so weird how an environment can serve you, and it's so difficult to leave something that's not serving you when it's all you have, right? So, it's I understand, like, it can be so much more difficult. I probably don't even know the half of it. So, yeah. I then ended up trying to, like, doing so well in school and working. I was like, I can take on more. So what I did is that I then started working 2 jobs while studying full-time for my second semester. And I literally went from work from 8 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 7:30, 8, to working till 4 o'clock, to leaving there, to going to my other job at 4:30, to leaving there sometimes at like 8 or 9. And I'm literally doing like 13-hour shifts, 6 days a week. It was draining. I did that for like 4 months, from around last year, November, to March this year. I ended up working my ass off, to having both jobs pulled under my feet. The one branch that I was working at with the really good boss, the branch closed down, so that went down. And the other job that I started working at was a seasonal, which also ended in March. So I went from trying to do the absolute most that I could to having everything swept under my feet and finding myself without a job again, purely out of my control. Luckily, the seasonal one should be starting again soon. But currently, again, I found my job through word of mouth. And every time I'm looking over here, hello again, I'm checking my timing so that I can keep that recording. And it's just, I'm just reading here again. It's just so crazy because I feel like so many people go through the struggle of trying to make a reputation for themselves for a piece of paper, but this piece of paper is like all these things what you really want to be like doing and achieving, or is it just what you can get? And I just think that everyone struggles with that. You give what you get. You get what you give. You get what, I don't know what the thing is, but you know what I'm trying to say. And it's just that I feel this, I'm now finished first year and I've got 2 more years left. Anything could happen in that time, obviously. But I feel like the last, this has been a journey, from dropping out because of mental health, because I really wasn't in a good space. It's also why a lot of my music on this channel is so bad, because I hate to say it, but I didn't know if I was gonna be here. Now I'm like, I just need to get anything out because I just needed to. I'm releasing now my first debut single. Sorry for the promo, but also I'm not sorry at all. Please check it out. It's going to be released this month. You're going to miss it out. You're going to miss out if you don't check it out. I'm kidding. You don't have to. Do whatever you want. You know what? Please actually just do it. Just stay. Why don't you just share and sub at the same time? Like, why not? It's free. I'll actually sub back to you. I'm being desperate. I'm not desperate. You're desperate, okay? You know what? This is a pretty good video, I think. I hope my story can help and inspire you guys. Thank you so much for watching if you are here, and whatever you're going through, just keep pushing and push for what you want at your core. Believe in yourself. Oh, so cliche, but do it, okay? And never fucking give up. Never give up, okay? I love you all. Thank you so much for watching, and peace out.